GTA 5 has been out for just over 11 years, been released on 3 different console generations, and Rockstar has really significantly been milking GTA Online. The crazy thing about all this is that the game is still one of the most played games in the world. I mean, really, GTA 5 alone has made over $6 billion. That's more than any franchise ever made. After doing more research, I actually found out that it's 8.5 billion, not 6. The game is so detailed that there are YouTube channels that have dedicated their channels to strictly be about GTA 5. And at the beginning of what I was doing on YouTube, I was one of these channels. Of course, mine was mostly about GTA Online, but keep in mind that I have had Grand Theft Auto 5 on PlayStation 3 since the weekend the game first initially dropped, and then I bought it again on PS4, and then I stupidly bought it a third time on PS5 with the minor enhancements. So yes, I definitely did contribute to this $6 billion. The only difference is I didn't buy any shark cards or anything like that. Remember when it was advertised that GTA 5 was expanded and enhanced? Yeah, there's literally nothing about the game that is different, just the fact that you can enable different graphic modes, but that was about it. The only real thing that was different on the PS4 version was the first person mode, but that was about it. I heard that whenever they made the first person mode, they had to basically reconstruct the entire game to work in first person, otherwise it would have looked wonky, I guess. I did notice that they did remove some what I guess you would consider transphobic stuff from the original, but I'm not here to talk about that. I mean, jokes are jokes. I mean, they didn't remove Jesse from The Pier, who basically everyone seems to do horrible things to when, he's basically a parody of Jesus. Anyways, all that aside, what I actually am here to talk about is that I have had this game on 3 generations and I've never got the platinum until now. It only took me 11 years. I was 19 when this game first came out. Lucky for me, when I started this challenge, I only had a few trophies to get because I've already had 75% of these trophies. But unlucky for me, the trophies that were left were the most tedious ones. Like Solid Gold, baby, Close Shave, and the worst of them was the Career Criminal. That's the one where you have to complete 100% of the game. But also lucky for me, not everything is required for 100%. Luckily, I had gotten a lot of those other trophies from before, like the one where you have to do all the Epsilon stuff with the weird Strangers and Freaks mission. Luckily, that's actually not required for 100%, but it is required to do to get another trophy, and I had already gotten that trophy years prior, so yippee. You see how Rockstar does that? They literally do require you to do everything, absolutely everything in this game. Whether it's to get a trophy or just to get 100%, because some stuff isn't required to get 100%. I'll explain more on that a little bit later. But moving on, I never actually completed the story on PlayStation 5, but I completed it multiple times on PS3 and PS4. The first trophy that I actually went after, of course, was the Solid Gold, baby, because I have not completed the story on PS5 yet. And completing the story mode, of course, is required for 100%. This trophy is relatively easy, just a little time consuming because obviously you have to get 70 gold medals in missions. The cool thing about getting these solid gold in missions is that you don't have to do each objective all at once. If you miss something, you can go back and replay the mission and only go after that one objective that you missed. When I went for this trophy, I basically had to play each mission at least twice because most of these missions have a timed objective and it's required for you to complete the mission within that specific time. You're going to have to skip all the cutscenes, but I like paying attention to the story even though I've seen this story 15 times. Also, there are 69 main story missions and there are over 30 Strangers and Freaks missions. So basically there are over 100 missions if you count both Strangers and Freaks and main story missions. So for this trophy, it's actually required you can do like either or, so you can flip back and forth between Strangers and Freaks and main story. So I was actually complete with this trophy well before the main story was even over. And that is what I did. But moving on to the next trophy that I got was a mystery solved. This trophy requires you to solve the case of Leonore Johnson. After collecting all 50 letter scraps, Franklin gets a new Strangers and Freaks mission. It kind of sucks because this is the only collectibles trophy that I actually did not complete, but after completing all this, getting all the collectibles and completing the Strangers and Freaks mission, this trophy will pop. The next trophy that I went for was a close shave, and what you have to do is do all the under the bridge with a helicopter and the knife flights with a plane. I started doing them, and this does count as a part of 100%, but you only have to do half of each. But I didn't have the trophy, so I actually had to get all of the 50 under the bridges and the 15 knife flights. Once I got that trophy, I moved on to complete 100% of the game, which again, everything was not required, but what was required was to do all the street races that Franklin had to do. I think the biggest issue that I had while doing this trophy was waiting, because I waited until there was nothing basically to do except for these races. And part of, like, this is kind of real in a sense, because so Hal will text you and say, hey, there's a race, and then about a week later he'll text you again. Once you complete that race, he'll be like, hey, there's another race, check this out, blah blah blah. And that's basically what took so long. I literally had to like spawn as Trevor, and then what I did is I slept, because he sleeps for like 12 hours, he's the longest. I slept for a while, and then I went back to Franklin, check it to see if I got a text from Hal, and it was just a big process. So I actually recommend, if you do try to do these races, I recommend that you do them as they come out. So when Hal texts you and say, hey, there's a race, you do that first mission. I can't remember the name of it, but you do that first mission, and then eventually Hal will text you for a second race, and then you'll do that race whenever it comes up, and then you can go do more of the story or whatever you want to do, and then eventually he'll text you again. And that's kind of something you got to keep in mind. The next thing that I had to do that was a part of completing 100% was the stunt jumps, but you only have to do 25 stunt jumps to get 100%, because I had already gotten the trophy called Show Off, which is when you have to complete all 50 stunt jumps. This is kind of what I was saying earlier, how sometimes like there isn't stuff that is required for 100%, but there is stuff that's required for like another trophy or something like that. So like, for example, only getting 25 of these stunt jumps will go towards your 100%, but to get the trophy called Show Off, you actually have to complete all 50. Luckily for me, I'd already done the stunt jumps like probably back on PS4 like years prior, so getting all 50 of them for me was not required, which was nice. I was able to just do 25 of them and then move on. I didn't quite think about this whenever I was going for the A Close Shave trophy, but what I actually did was I got my car lined up, and then I did a quick save. So anytime that I failed a stunt jump, I could just load the game, and then I was right back where I was, instead of having to go all the way around and find the stunt jump again. Now, I'm not sure if you can quick save while you're in the air, but if I thought about doing this, I would have at least tried to do this while I was doing the knife flights, because the knife flights for me were rather difficult. I died quite a few times, and so that even though there was 15 of them, it still took me a little while to do them all, because I kept crashing. Sometimes I would do a knife flight and then I would just immediately crash, but I don't know if quick saving works while I'm in the air, because I didn't even try it, but it definitely does work when you're on the ground. When you get your car lined up, just quick save the game, and then anytime you fail a stunt jump, because it's kind of some stunt jumps are a little tricky. So what I did is I just lined my car up, quick saved, and then anytime I failed it, I just loaded the game. Simple as that. So there are a few Strangers and Freaks missions that are not required for 100%, but there is one Strangers and Freaks mission that I completely forgot about until near the end, and this one actually took a little bit of time to do as well, and it was the towing missions with Tanya. For some reason, I completely forgot about them, and what happens is you basically get a text or an email or a call or phone call. You get a phone call from Tanya after the first towing mission, and she says, hey, I need your help, call me, or she texts you is what happens. And so you'll call her, and then she'll start up the mission, and that happens 3 more times, I think, after the original pulling favors mission. And then it's like pulling another favor, or pulling more favors, and then pulling one last favor. Like those are the different missions that I had missed because I'd forgot to call her when I'd done it previously. And then by the end of the game, again, I was like, well, why didn't I do these missions? And I had to look up how to spawn these missions, because I totally forgot that you have to actually physically call Tanya to start them up. So I ended up doing that, but this also took some time as well, because every time you complete one of the jobs, she would say that she's doing something or whatever. She'll let me know if she needs more help or whatever the case may be. So it takes about a week, maybe 2 weeks in game time in order to spawn the next one. So this one also required for me to sleep a lot. But eventually I was able to get the missions, and I actually became a career criminal after this, because this was the last thing to do that had to do with the 100%. So yeah, I became a career criminal in GTA 5. Just had to clarify that. Okay, so the final 2 trophies that I had before I got the platinum was Numero Uno and Backseat Driver. So to get Numero Uno, you basically have to win first place in all these different sort of game modes for online. And it was mostly dumb stuff. I mean, stuff that I had already done in story mode, like I had to win against somebody in golf, I had to win tennis, and I had to do like arm wrestling, darts, stuff like that. But of course, I had to win. There was a few different races that I had to win as well, and lucky for me, I have a 7-year-old son that I could kind of exploit and take advantage of in this particular moment, because most of these races required just 2 people. So it was real easy for me to win against my 7-year-old. Hey, I'm not proud of this, okay? But I need to get the platinum, okay? That's the only reason why I'm doing this. This is for the video, okay? So I had to do what I had to do. There is one particular race that is actually required for literally both the Backseat Driver and the Numero Uno trophy. And when I did this race, it surprised me. I did not think that this was going to be the last thing that I had to do that would literally pop all 3 trophies at once. And that was the rally race. So basically what happens is I was the passenger and I had one of my friends playing. And of course my son was playing against me, and he was the driver, and you know, he's not the greatest driver in these games. I mean, look, this kid can beat the crap out of me in Fortnite, but he's not a very good driver in GTA. So yeah, so he was the driver, and basically in a rally race, you know, the only one that can see where you're going is the passenger, and you have to kind of direct your teammate to victory. And that's basically what I did, and that's also how you get the Backseat Driver. So in this mode, I literally directed my partner, who he was actually my friend on PlayStation. So like I obviously didn't meet this guy in person, but I've played with him before, and he's actually pretty good, and he's pretty decent at figuring it out. And yeah, so I directed him, and he figured it out, and he was actually really good at the game. And yeah, he helped me achieve victory. And when we won, literally all 3 of the trophies popped, and I was very surprised. I got the Numero Uno trophy, the Backseat Driver trophy, and the platinum. I was very happy. One thing that does make me a little bit mad in a way is that it still says overall for Grand Theft Auto, I've only got 84% complete, which, you know, obviously I have 100% complete for the story mode, but then they have, like, you know, the OG heists. You know, I got the Criminal Mastermind and the OG heist, so I got 100% there. But then you get down to the Rockstar editor, and I'm not really going to mess with the editor. I don't really know anything about it. I'm going to have to do some research. Again, I don't know anything about it, so I'm not really worried about that. And then, of course, the hardest one, which will be, there's only 2 trophies left for the Doomsday heist. And yeah, this is it's a lot. Basically, I got to get the Criminal Mastermind, and I got to get the Elite Challenge in the Doomsday heist. And Criminal Mastermind is just like the Criminal Mastermind in the OG heist. The difference is, for the OG heist, the reward is $10 million for each player. It'll give everyone, you know, whatever they made for the heist, plus an additional $10 million per player. So it's worth it. But the Criminal Mastermind for the Doomsday heist just isn't worth it, because I think you only get like $1 million per heist for completing it. The difficulty level is so much higher. 4 players are required. Each player has to be pretty good, and none of them can die. And it's one of those things where you just, I can't be bothered to do it. You know what I mean? But not saying that I don't have people that are good enough to do this. You know, I got people that are 100% good enough to do this. I just don't think anyone is going to be committed enough to actually do it. So I'm probably going to end up leaving that where it sits. But at the end of the day, I still did it, and I couldn't be happier. I got the Platinum Trophy in the GTA 5 story. And, you know, I'm probably never going to visit the story again, because now I'm just waiting for GTA 6 to come out. Isn't that what we're all doing, though? Just waiting for GTA 6 to come out, and now we just have to figure out things to do while we're waiting. But I think until then, I think we can all agree that I am finally the king of Los Santos. The story mode, not online, but yeah. Okay, bye.
Hey.
Okay, we have another game to pick. And this
And
time it's Parker that gets
Parker.
to do it, yeah. And go.
But we're gonna hurry up because I'm playing with my friend, okay? And I'm
he
gonna
playing?
dig deep, like deep.
Like really deep? Okay. What does it say?
The care. What is it?
Let me look.
I don't know this one.
Oh, it's the Terminator: Dawn of Fate. Sweet. I've been really jonesing for like a classic game. That's a
Very
PlayStation. That's a
classic.
PlayStation 2 title.
Very
So yep, the
classic.
Terminator: The Dawn of Fate. Say bye.
Bye, guys. Love you.
And you don't have to do all that gay stuff.